Hi, and welcome to another one of my guitar lessons, and we're going to start a new series on the guitar playing that you hear behind Little Walter. I just finished a series on the guitar playing behind Sonny Boy Williamson, another fantastic harp player and singer. And if you go through this series I'm doing now, you'll hear a lot of similarities, a lot of the same licks used in different ways, but you'll also learn a lot of new stuff, a lot more ways that you can play rhythm guitar and play fills and even play some lead behind a harmonica player, and do it in the style of the 1950s and 60s chess recordings, which is what Little Walter and Sonny Boy Williamson are so typical of. Let's start out with Little Walter, and we'll start out with the bass rhythms. This will be lesson 1, and we'll also learn his use of chords, fills, and all kinds of stuff. So let's start with the bass rhythms. As with Sonny Boy Williamson, a lot of times on Little Walter's recordings you have two guitar players, one playing the low end, or what I call bass rhythms, the other one playing the fills and the chords and what you hear over the top of that. Treble stuff. Little Walter, some great bass rhythms, a whole huge catalog of variety of these. I'm going to show you about a dozen or so that I think we'll get, if we have time, or if I have time, we'll get that many in. But what I'm trying to do is give you lots of different ideas for rhythm patterns that you can play when you're playing behind a harmonica player, to play tastefully and without running over the harmonica player. You want to provide a solid background for him to do his thing and also get a good groove going too. Let's start out in the key of G, and I've got a capo on this 3rd fret right there, so I can play out of the first position first E position. And let me just show you the first. This is from a tune, a Little Walter tune called Backtrack, and it's an instrumental, harmonica instrumental, and it's got a really simple, cool bass groove going here. Let me play it for you one time, a couple times through actually. Very simple, but very cool. And trying to get a good tone. My guitar is a little too bright for this kind of stuff, but I'll do what I can here. Got my first finger, we're playing out of the, like we're playing in E, but we've got the capo with the 3rd fret, so we're in G. And my first finger is on the 2nd fret of the 5th string, and I'm picking both the open 6th and the fretted 5th string. And so, and then I'm going to take my 2nd and 3rd fingers and walk down or walk up the 3rd and 4th frets on the 6th string. And then back up to this position. But when I come back, I'm just getting the 2nd fret of the 5th string. I'm just picking the 5th string. So I'm picking it twice. And then I'm coming down with my ring finger on the 4th fret of the 5th string. That's the whole lick. In G, over the 1 chord. Now when I move it to the 4, I just take my first finger and move it over to the 4th string, 2nd fret, and then I play the exact same thing, just my open string is now the 5th. With my right hand, I'm very gently setting it on the strings, trying to mute it. You don't want to mute it too much, but you want to mute it enough where you get kind of a chunky, bassy sound. When he goes to the 5 on this particular tune, Backtrack, he's going to do a single string thing. So the D, which would be like we're playing in B without the capo, is going to start on the 5th string, 2nd fret, and then walk to the 5th and 6th fret on the 5th string. So he's coming up here. And then to the 5th, 4th fret of the 4th string, to the 6th fret of the 4th string. So the whole thing. So the whole thing fast. And then he's just going back, doing the the same thing over the 4 chord, which is the C, and then back to the 1. Now, listening to the recording, trying to hear how he wraps up that bass cycle. If you listen to the Little Walter guitar stuff, a lot of times when they get to the 5, he'll do, instead of playing the bass line on the 5, he'll go to the 5 chord, which in this case would be a B 7th shape, which becomes a D 7th with the capo. And then back to the 4 bass. But here on this tune, he's going the bass line. And then wrapping it up with the open 6th string and then to that chord. So the whole thing. That's what I think he's playing. Listening to that recording, everything gets meshed together. And that's what it sounds like to me. So the bass, and that's the end of the verse. And he just plays that same basic pattern over and over again while Walter is blowing away on the harp. And then you have the fills that are playing over the top of it. So that is one example of a solid bass rhythm you could play behind someone playing harmonica. Another example of bass rhythm from the Little Walter recordings is from a tune called Aw Baby. And this is a vocal tune, and it's also in the key of G, and he's got the capo on the 3rd fret. And this is an example of more of a double string bass rhythm. Let me play it through for you one time, and then we'll talk about it. Really cool groove. And the only thing I'm really doing different for the first part of that is I'm picking both strings. I'm getting both the 6th and the 5th string, and I'm playing mostly downstrokes. Real choppy type sound. And when I do this, when I'm walking down the 3rd and 4th strings like I did in the last rhythm, I'm making sure I get both the 6th and the 5th string. Then I'm coming here to the 4th fret of the 5th string, and then sliding that finger up to the 6th fret. And then, instead of going like this, which is a rhythm you hear a lot in blues stuff, he's going back to that walk on the 3rd and 4th frets of the 6th string. Like that. Which is really neat. It's just a very slight variation, but it adds just a whole new touch to that basic lick. And then when he goes to the 4, he's playing more of the standard, taking the ring finger from the 4th fret of the 4th string to the 5th fret, back to the 4th fret. Sometimes doing that, sometimes doing something like that. You can do all kinds of little variations with this. And then on the 5, here's what I was talking about before. He's going to the B7th chord. Instead of playing something like that, he's just skipping the 5 and playing the chord. And then the 4. And you can wrap it up a couple different ways. With the open 6th string. And then to the chord, so something like this. Or you can walk into it a little bit like this. So I'm going to the 2nd fret of the 4th string. And then into that 5 chord, the B7. So one more time. That's a common bass type turnaround. Or you can just keep the rhythm going. So you could do it like this. Let's go from the 5 to the 4 to the 1. Back to the 1. Now if you listen carefully to that tune that I talked about, Aw Baby, he actually goes from the 1 to the 4 in the first verse, so under the vocal, so like this. So it depends on the tune you're playing, but in that particular tune, that's what he does on the first time around on each verse, I think, except for the solos.